Hey everyone, and welcome to this Meet the Speaker video. I'm here today with Chris McNulty. How are you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you, Vlad?
Pretty good. So, can you introduce yourself really quick?
Sure thing. I'm Chris McNulty. I'm a senior product manager on the Microsoft 365 team. I mostly focus on content services, enterprise content management, as well as business applications. And that's how we use tools like Power Apps and Flow and Lists to be able to bring new capabilities into users for Office 365.
You've been at Microsoft for 4 years now?
Yeah, this is my fourth year.
Fourth year. I knew before you were at Microsoft, but...
Yeah, I think I was smarter then.
I'm not going to do any comments on that. How long ago did you start playing with SharePoint?
So I started working with SharePoint 2001.
Okay, so right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, what we had at where I was working at the time, our Microsoft rep gave us early access to the Tahoe bits. Okay. Because I had built a series of ASP, Active Server Pages, capabilities to reach into Exchange public folders and surface them for websites. And he was like, you don't need to do that. Like,
we just built something for you.
We're building something like that. So, yeah, I've been working with it for just about as long as it's been around.
So then you're a consultant since 2000s until...
Yeah, so prior to joining Microsoft, I have spent, some chunk of my career as a customer, but most of my time has been split between being on the consultant or systems integrator side, running a consulting practice on the East Coast of the U.S., and then about 8-9 years ago, I jumped over to the software side of the world. So I joined Quest Software, which then became part of Dell, where I was Chief Technology Officer for Dell Software. And that's where I became an MVP along the way. And then when Microsoft came calling, I looked at them, and of course, the chance to help drive product and solve problems for even more people than ever before.
And now you live in Seattle.
Now I do live in Seattle. It is awfully hard to stay on the East Coast and work the way that you want to work with your friends who have all sorts of roles across the product team.
It's kind of funny to look at people in Seattle now with the 5 inches of snow, calling it a snow. I mean, you're used to it. You probably find it a joke and go to the office and you're like, how come there's nobody here today?
It is funny. I was we actually in Seattle had about 6 inches of snow last Monday. Yeah. And I was flying in from out of town. I was in Boston. Flew in. I was like, I feel like I'm home. It's cold and snowy and you can't see anything. Went straight to the office, and it was a ghost town. Yeah. And if you're not used to driving in snow, I have a lot of respect for folks who've come at Microsoft in Seattle. People come from all over the world, so I'd probably be terrible in a sandstorm.
Fair point. Let's talk a bit about conferences. You've been speaking at conferences and events for a while now, right?
And despite all the places I speak, people still come to conferences. So.
Yeah. Do you remember what was your first ever SharePoint event that you spoke at?
Yeah, the first SharePoint event that I spoke at, it was a user group 10, 11 years ago, talking about managed metadata services.
In Boston?
Yes.
Awesome. And you've also spoke at SharePoint conference. Well, you've attended a few, I guess, SharePoint conferences in, Vegas, California, a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it's SharePoint conference has been an interesting, watching SharePoint conference go through its different permutations. The MOS conferences back in Seattle that were run by Microsoft. In full disclosure, I wasn't at those. People have told me great stories about things that they learned when they heard me speak at the MOS conference in Seattle, and I wasn't there. But SharePoint conference Las Vegas 2009 was my first SPC. Okay. I started speaking at SPCs at SPC 2011, and
everyone since, each one all of them?
Yeah, I keep trying to figure out, is there a way I can get out of the next one? But no, it's great to be able to come and talk to folks.
To be honest, you probably can.
On the product team, it's actually, it is something I've been honored to be able to do throughout my career, much as you, being able to get out and talk to real-world customers, to have understand, be able to bring empathy to how those problems get solved. Different companies approach customers in different styles. Redmond obviously is servicing a global clientele, and it's really important to get out and understand how the solutions we have work. Small, medium, large, national, international, global in scale, very small companies, whatever it is. You know, we're serving millions and millions of users every day. And so what's humbling is to work at that scale and realize that the things that, I said this in the keynote here this morning, the things that in a small company, in a small data center, you might see once every 10 years. Well, 12 of them are happening in an Office 365 data center right now. And last fall, Mark Cashman, who is my colleague, he and I have a podcast, The Intro Zone. And we, one of the shows we did, we went to an Office 365 data center on the inside. And it's fascinating because you can walk through it and you can hear this, first off, the hum and the sound of all of those redundant systems. And when you realize that these data centers service Office 365 commercial, the corporate accounts, as well as the personal things, and you realize that in any second, in the conduits and signals flying around, there are people's resumes, termination notices, love letters, great medical news, absolutely the single most boring set of meeting recordings you'll ever hear, and everything in between. And it's all flying around you and through you, and it's wonderful to just be able to look at that.
Wow. Never got the chance yet to visit a data center.
Yeah, so the one that we have in Redmond is at a place called Redmond Ridge. And you wouldn't know it because our data centers are private and somewhat guarded. Now this one is officially considered a test center. Which is part of how we were able to get into it. The actual production data centers have even more stringent security than the test centers do. Test centers have Microsoft data in them. The production centers have things like person traps. So like the only one person can enter a revolving door. And actually we'll do, you know, all sorts of things to make sure that only authorized people can be in there. And an Office 365 data center actually requires very few people to be live touching machines. So much of it is automated, and they're really cool to get to visit.
It must be fun. We need MVP Summit. Maybe we can do something at a test one.
And they have these really, like, if you want to go steampunk, they have these giant, generators that are fuel powered so that they can run a data center for days on end in case there's a snowstorm or something, which could happen. With these like V16 engines and so on and so forth. I think my train is coming. But we're not here to talk about Office 365 data centers, are we? We're here.
But that was a good site story. You sold me.
So we're here to talk about SPC 2019.
Vegas.
So what can we expect at SPC 2019? That's the question you're going to ask me, right?
No, not even.
Okay.
What are you most excited about?
So we're going to do some partner events that will be really cool for our partners and some of our customers, and those will be fun. That's not what I'm most excited about. And we've got some stuff that I'm working on for demoing in the keynote, which will be fun. And that's not what I'm most excited about. What I am most excited about is we will be doing a live recording of the Intro Zone. So being able to bring, hundreds of people together and do a little bit more fun with our panel and do some lightning rounds.
Have you already done some of those in like Chicago or other places?
Yeah, we actually did a live recording in Chicago last fall at SharePoint Fest, which in some ways we wanted to prove out that we could stage a live performance. So this should be interesting because there'll be a few more people.
Just a few more. And a question that I asked other people, but for you it's not fair because you probably actually know the answer. Who do you expect to be at a party? Because the party is always a big part of SPC. So
I'm going to take the safe answer. Dave Lavelli, at SPC Party Patrol will be, if there's a party, he's there.
But you don't know what the main party event is.
We don't actually know yet.
Okay,
We will know soon, and we'll share it with folks as soon as we can share it.
I tried.
You know, there have been a couple of ideas that are proposed, like what if we had Bon Jovi running around singing a Huey Lewis song, carrying Danica Patrick on his shoulders.
That'd really be a good SPC combination.
Yep. You know, and the stage could look like a love shack, and we could start to bring these things together. But
so remains to be seen.
yeah, promise there'll be someone I think really quite special. I've looked at the list of people they're considering, and it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Chris.
Thanks
I'll
a
let
lot,
you go
Vlad.
back at the conference.
Great.
And looking forward to seeing you in Vegas again.
Looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks. See you at SPC.